Greetings, Ivy Artists. This is Miss A. I'm here introducing a series of videos. So for this series of videos, I'm interviewing a variety of people. Most of these people were my ex-students. Some of them are practicing artists that I've met along the way. And really, these videos are here to inspire you. They are here to show you where you can take your art education. Not all of you will become artists, but I feel that, art is really, really important no matter what you end up doing later on in life. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you really, really enjoy these. Thank you for subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting. That inspires us to do more videos that are hopefully of interest to you. This is Miss A. All the best.
Hello, my name is Rob Sullivan. I'm an artist here in Portland, Maine, USA, and this is my studio. Welcome. As you can see from the various paintings around me, as well as the tools of the trade of painting, I am in fact a painter, but I am also a professor of art at Leslie Art Design in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I teach visual culture and illustration survey, which are both lecture courses. I have taught studio art for well over a decade. This lecturing is sort of new to me, but I enjoy it very much. And just to explain that slightly, as far as visual culture is concerned, it's a mandated freshman class for incoming freshmen. So it's one of their first experiences in the undergraduate degree program of art at Leslie Art Design. And that course is kind of designed to show students how to really look at images, especially nowadays. The lens that most of us have on art and media is through the screen. And sometimes it's delivered through platforms and algorithms that are kind of not really related to anything, taken out of context. So what we try and have students do is kind of look at the connection of the image to the artist, and from that artist to a past history of not just art, but a history of working in art, a history that is at once social and cultural, but also based on a certain type of learning, whether it's a heavily skill-based learning or it's something that's very conceptually based. So we try and parse all that out to give the student a really deep connection to visual cultures and histories so that they can connect it to themselves and the artwork that they're going to make throughout their art education and hopefully their professional career. And it gives them a more concrete way of thinking about how they fit into the grander scheme of the art world. Illustration survey is very similar in that sense, except we dial even more specifically into the world of illustration as well as the media entertainment complex, things like comics, animation, even Marvel movies and Disney products, that kind of thing. So those are the two different hats that I wear as a professional. I'd like to speak a little bit about how my art education helped me to where I got today. So it started off a little non-traditionally in the sense that I did not have any formal training in high school. I went to a Catholic all-boys high school, which had no art and no music. So that was kind of sad, and I really didn't get the benefit of having mentors and teachers look at the work that I was trying to do with the hopes that I would go to an art program post high school. There was nobody there to really guide me to say whether it was the portfolio I was creating was good enough to get into any of these places. Sure, I had peers and friends who were supportive and very encouraging in my work and were fans, but that wasn't really enough to propel me forward to a place where I felt comfortable going to schools with a body of work that I thought was good enough to get me into a program. Nevertheless, I did it anyway. Tried doing all my own research and just put together the best package that I could. And fortunately, it did work, and I did get into Pratt Institute in Manhattan. Had a 2-year illustration and design program where I went, and that, like I said, only a 2-year program with an associate's degree. But the benefit of that was that it really focused me into the media world of illustration and design. It gave me some very core skill sets and also helped me to develop a much more professional looking portfolio so that I could move to the next level and obtain my bachelor's degree. And so I went for another 2.5 years to the School of Visual Arts, which is also in New York City in Manhattan. And that's where I really flourished. I studied painting and illustration there. Painting to really enhance the kind of skill sets that I was looking for because my illustrations were crafted in paint. So I was trying to really dial into the best skill sets that I could and the best teachers that I could get for that particular skill set. The thing that I guess I was missing out on, and I think this is looking back to the high school transition into college and university, in that I didn't have people helping me look at what I needed to do as far as a program was concerned. So I was just kind of going on instinct as to what I liked and what I excelled in. I didn't really look outside that box too much, and the mentors and professors that I had at the time, as good as they were kind of locked into their own thing professionally and pedagogically. So as far as learning about contemporary art and anything really post-war, I didn't get that in my art education, my undergraduate education, because it wasn't, and this is what I was told, it wasn't relevant to the practice that I was doing in the studio, because it wasn't skill-based and it was too conceptual, and it had nothing to do with the world of illustration that I was looking to get into. So after graduating, I worked as a freelance illustrator, actually obtained an agent who represented me for over a decade, and I worked in the book, magazine, advertising industry, making paintings for clients who were looking for a visual solution to their problems. After a while, though, I wanted to branch out and kind of do my own work for myself. So I slowed down with the illustration projects and started to craft commissions and personal works so that I could show in galleries. And it was also during that time that I got introduced to teaching and just really kind of developed a knack for teaching studio art in the classroom. And I realized that painting for myself and teaching in the classrooms were two things that I really enjoyed doing. And so that was kind of an art education on the fly, ex post facto, for my degree. But because of the different experiences I had with design, with illustration, with painting in undergraduate work, I was able to kind of wear a bunch of different hats in terms of skill sets are concerned. So I could kind of morph and change depending on what I needed to do. So the education really helped in that respect. Now, there's about a 20-year gap here where I got my undergraduate degree and then moved into a master's program. I don't recommend a 20-year gap for anybody. It just happened to be that way. One of the reasons I went back for my master's is that I kind of felt that my own personal work was maybe stagnating a little bit and it needed that kind of boost forward. And I knew that I was missing a component. As I mentioned, I didn't really learn much about contemporary art in undergrad. And also, as a teacher, I felt that I needed to get a broader look at art and the world, because the world was so much more interconnected at that point. Because prior to that, back in the early '90s, when I was a young illustrator, there was no internet. So believe it or not, I know it's kind of crazy to imagine a world without it, but it was, and I was trying to operate in it. But as the world got more interconnected, the world of art became um, much more open, except much more competitive as a result. So, in order to connect myself to that a little bit better, I thought a master's program that was very critical theory based as well as studio art based was going to be the program for me. And I did actually go to Leslie Art and Design, where I teach now in undergrad. I went to their graduate program to obtain my master's degree. And that was extremely helpful as far as a professional educator was concerned. But as an artist, it also completely changed my work. And the artist that I am now is due to that particular experience. And that, of course, moves into the next question. Do I think art education is important? Why do I think art education is important? Well, of course, I think it's important, obviously. As a professor, I do, because that's one of the things that I do. That's what I try and foster in my classroom. Um, but I also think it's important because, uh, from my own experience, not having that path set out for me clearly um, was a bit intimidating, and not everybody wants to get into that kind of situation where you don't know what you're doing and you're just going to roll the dice and take a chance at an art program and an art career. So it's very good to surround yourself with people who can help you with that. And in a high school program is just like the best place to start, because you have um, mentors and teachers as well as peers who can help guide you along the way, because they're all kind of on the same page with these ideas. Just to go into the next question quickly, the transition from high school to university, because it's related, is that for me that transition was very abrupt. Recall what I mentioned about being uh, in a all boys Catholic high school with no art program whatsoever, to go into the heart of Manhattan amongst all of these talented young people, and in the middle of a city that's just full of culture and art and museums and galleries and everything that I could get my hands on as far as what a young artist would want. It was amazing, but it was really intense. And I had to kind of ride that wave of intensity and adrenaline, because it was almost completely overwhelming, in order for me to um, get what I could out of it. So it was a bit of a transition that I kind of had to kind of grow into. I literally had to sort of mature into as a 17-year-old kid, and then graduate from this associate degree program and then move on to a bachelor's program. Uh, I was still figuring it out along the way. What I would like to say to students, art students in high school studying art, is that being close to your mentors and teachers and your peers who are going to school with you in an art program is really important relationships. Those are really important relationships to foster moving forward towards an education in art in a university setting and beyond, because it is hard to know exactly what it is that you need to be doing. It's hard to be completely objective about your work, especially when you're just figuring it out, uh, what you're doing skill-based wise, what you want to do conceptually, and that is certainly going to change along the way. It's never a linear path. Maybe the educational path might be linear in the way that you plan it out, and you may be able to go all the way through to, let's say, a PhD in studio art, which in Europe there's plenty of that going on. But as far as like what your art is and what's happening with it is very experientially based. So that is not linear at all. So to have mentors and instructors and peers and friends who are going through these same things with you and helping you through it, for them to be able to look objectively at what you're doing and advise you, and which is you're doing the same thing as well for them. You're helping to critique their work. You're going to your professor's shows. Showing up is really key. Fostering those relationships is really key, because moving forward into a professional art career is where that becomes almost the locus for how to network within the system, is keeping those relationships alive, because it builds community. It builds integrity within the art world. None of us are an island in this really multifarious, amazing community of artists that are so interconnected worldwide. So you cannot be alone in that. You can definitely benefit from knowing and being friends with and being collegial with as many artists that you can, be they superstars or they're just a fellow artist, emerging artists alongside yourself. These are the things that you really need to focus on in order to maintain a career that has a lot of connectivity to the world. It's very difficult to not have that. Being an artist is creative 24/7. I don't leave this studio and leave all my creativity here. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. Everything that happens to me out in the world is what I take in here and craft that into things that I take out as like a final product of all of that thinking and those experiences, through the lens of a painter, and that's what creates my work. So you are living the lifestyle, as it were, and I don't mean that in sort of like a partying rock star kind of sense. I mean that in the sense that you are attentive to everything that you do with regard to you being an artist and that being the career that you want to have. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you can get out there and continue to make great work, and that your future is full of amazing art experiences. Thanks.